It's comments like this one here that represent the mindset and somewhat pedantic attitude that often leads to people spending thousands and thousands of pounds on legal fees just to resolve something really straightforward. So this comment reads, "Surely as a barrister." Now, whenever a comment reads "surely as a barrister" at the beginning, I know it's going to be a good one. They're having a pop. Surely as a barrister, you must know that something can't be a little bit unique or a little bit more unique. It's either unique or it isn't. Now, obviously, that's referring to a small snippet of comment that I made in a video that went out this morning. So this scam is a little bit unique about the Facebook scam, me saying that it's a little bit unique in the way that they operate. I thought I would take this comment and take issue with this comment, join issue with this commenter. Let's have a look at it ourselves. Because as I said, there is a broader context to talking about this comment, and that is when arguments get so pedantic, people end up invariably spending tens of thousands of pounds arguing over this silly little point in court, only for the court ultimately, and I've been there before, when the judge has said, "Why are we here?" Because it's such a tiny, minute point. Now, granted, other people will say, well, it's a court of law, you can argue these principles, and if it is turned in the other direction, then one party can win the argument and the other party not. But sometimes, and very often, they are so pedantic as this that it's simply a waste of time and it's simply a waste of money. But nonetheless, let's indulge and let's take a look at this word unique to see just how unique the word and its meaning is. So as a barrister, what I will do to undertake this task to determine just how unique the word unique is, I'm going to look at some dictionaries, because what better place to understand what a word means than the worldwide accepted dictionaries. So I'm going to look at the Webster Dictionary, I'm going to look at the Cambridge Dictionary, the Collins Dictionary, and the Oxford Learners Dictionary. Let's start with the Webster. I'll say that we start with the Webster because as an advocate, it's often useful to start with the conclusion and then work backwards with the explanation. And that's exactly what happens when we look at the Webster Dictionary, because it opens as follows. With the question, can something be very unique or somewhat unique? It says many commentators have objected to the comparison or modification as by somewhat or very of unique, often asserting that the thing is either unique or it is not. Just like our friend in the comments there. Objections are based chiefly on the assumption that unique has but a single absolute sense, an assumption contradicted by information readily available in a dictionary. In other words, I'm very sorry to say that our commenter friend here is acting on an assumption contradicted by information readily available in the dictionary. Let's read on. Unique dates back to the 17th century, but was little used until the end of the 18th, when, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, it was reacquired from French. H.J. Todd entered it as a foreign word in his edition 1818 of Johnson's Dictionary, characterizing it as affected and useless. Around the middle of the 19th century, it ceased to be considered foreign and came into considerable popular use. With popular use came a broadening of application beyond the original two meanings, here numbered senses 1 and 2a. In modern use, both comparison and modification are widespread and standard, but are confined to the extended senses 2b and 3. And just for the avoidance of doubt, sense 3 given by Webster includes the wording "a very unique ballpoint pen." And we were fairly unique, the 60 of us, in that there wasn't one good mixer in the bunch. Moving on to the Cambridge Dictionary now for the word unique, the US and the UK being broadly similar, being the only existing one of its type, or, more generally, unusual or special in some way. So not absolute and not unqualified. Along the same lines, the Collins Dictionary says you can use unique to describe things that you admire because they are very unusual and special. Again, not necessarily a single one-of-a-kind unmodified. Oxford Learners Dictionary, you can use absolutely, totally, or almost with unique in this meaning. So you can say that it's almost unique or absolutely unique. You can qualify it and you can modify it. So as I said, the purpose of this video is to highlight that when focusing on such a tiny detail, when sometimes it can be wrong, can often lead to people spending thousands or tens of thousands of pounds on a dispute, lots of time, years of stress, all ultimately for nothing. Because if the parties were not so focused on tiny detail like that at the beginning, they may not have to spend so much time and so much money arguing about it. Now, of course, I'm absolutely not saying that you shouldn't argue a point when you want to win your case, but what I am saying is think about it very, very carefully, because even if the information comes from your lawyer who says, well, technically, we could argue on this very, very minor technical point, then you may still end up spending tens of thousands of pounds over this point and still may ultimately lose, even if you had a very minor technical point upon which you could win your argument. But ultimately, my point here is, if you think you have a point like that, please make sure you do your research, because this took me all of 2 minutes to look up, because frankly, I was interested in the criticism. So I generally do look at this criticism because we all like to improve, and I'm humble enough to take any of these comments to look up whether or not what I said was indeed accurate. And this goes for many different things as well. We all learn different things as we grow up. We learn how to say things differently. We learn how to write things differently. We learn different phraseology. When you're learning a new language, if you learn a new word, you will very often retain the pronunciation that you did when you first learned that word, even if in fluent normal language it's not supposed to be said like that. So I hope that was interesting. I hope it was useful. Please remember to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.